Jamie, can I ask a question? I think it's great you're running together. What led to that decision? And obviously, you think it's the right thing to do. I'm just interested to know how you arrived at that.
Well,
The decision to run it.
to run
To run
together.
together as a team.
I think it really was an evolution. We met with Sue, and we really came at this from different perspectives and different backgrounds. But the more we started talking, the more we realized that initially we planned not to run together, but it just felt like more and more of what we were doing was along the same lines. So we're going to be running some advertising together, and it's been a real blessing in this campaign to meet a new buddy, Jamie.
And let me tell you, when you go to the polls on November 7th, you're going to have 2 votes for council. And Hunt and I are the first 2 candidates on the ballot. And we need both of your votes. And we'll tell you why. If those 2 issues have already been through council, and if they get the majority on, if the majority switches on the council, the majority vote, those issues are going to come back up again. And if they have the majority vote, they will probably get passed, and we will probably end up paying for them. And so we need both of your votes, and we're asking for them.
To put it in perspective, our city budget is around $16 million a year, and that's inclusive of sewer and water. I think our actual spendable budget is more in the 14 million range to cover all of our needs for the year. So if we took that which it's almost between 9 and 10 million is what it's estimated to be, that's like taking almost a significant part of a year's budget and taking yours and our tax dollars and digging a hole and throwing our money in the ground, having zero payback on those dollars, zero return, other than getting rid of a few power lines. We've got much more important priorities that we need to be addressing first.
Honestly, I was thinking about that, and I was downtown one day, and I've talked to a lot of people who said they don't even notice the wires. But I looked at it and I thought, people come to Blowing Rock. It's kind of a haven, kind of a throwback to yesteryear. And I honestly think it's a plus.
Yeah, I do. It's nostalgic.
Good for you, Chuck.
Yeah.
If you come up Sunset and you're looking at the park and you look right, you won't see a power line until you can see it down the distance around Footsloggers. You also get to see the embers, by the way. And as you turn on Main, you'll notice them. They're over top of the buildings. They're out of the way. And going south, there are some that cross the street. I only know this anecdotally. I don't know this for a fact. But I've heard some of those have actually been abandoned telecommunication lines that could possibly be taken down. So instead of us spending $9.5 million, why don't we get a better hold of what's up there and maybe take some of it down?
And the other thing that nobody talks about usually is the 4 or 5 boxes that are the big metal boxes, the transformer boxes, that are gonna take up parking spaces, and they're gonna be positioned down Main Street. That you talk about nostalgic look of Main Street, that is not gonna help us.
I want to mention something about the water. Hunt, you're so right. The quality can be fabulous, and when it comes through the pipes, you got a problem. This year, in 6 weeks or 2 months, we've changed our water filter 3 times. The last time, and those filters aren't cheap, and I have to pay somebody to do it. I can't do it. George can't do it. So the last
And it's
time,
and the water tank ain't too far from your house.
well, that's right. I'm right. If it spills, I'm over. My point, the 4th time that I called and left a message, they never pick up in person the first time. I left a really tough message because I had left it the 3 times before, and I was facing the 4th time in 2 months to change my water filters. Now, why? We didn't have enough water pressure to take a shower, and our commode stopped flushing. One time, we could not flush the commode, there wasn't enough water coming back. Now, that's a frightening situation. So, I left a tough message. I'd been nice before, the 4th time I wasn't nice. And he said, well, we'll flush out those, and I want everybody to remember this, because it works. We'll flush out the water hydrants for 24 hours, water pressure back, just like that.
And so when you do that, how much of our city water
I know!
that we've paid to
what?
pay
To
for
treat.
Exactly.
just
It's a
went down the
desperate
drain.
need.
Yeah.
People don't realize it unless they've been through it.
so then that gets translated back to all of our water bills,
That's right.
all that water they're having to flush through the system.
Uh-huh. I'd say that's one of our biggest problems right now that we face.
Hunt, I want to mention something, if you don't mind,
Yes, sir.
on the electric side of it. Because I was on a city council for 8 years in North Carolina, and we did a study and so on. And the cost is one thing, but the cost is absolutely greater than underground, because if you have an underground problem, you've got to find it, and then you've got to tear the ground up, and it becomes very, very expensive. So it's expensive to do it, but it really adds to the cost when it comes to repair.
Yeah, that's right. You got to dig it up, and not only that, but you're disrupting Main Street while you're doing it.
I think that there was a rumor that got started that as long as we're tearing up our Main Street, why don't we just put the power lines in the same hole? Well, as I've told people, water and electricity don't mix very well together. So it's actually going to take 2 other trenches, and then it was a multi-stage process of putting the ductwork in and then running the lines, as I understand it, that would have required 2 appropriations from the city council. And you could have had the first part of the investment, and then a new council come along, or us being in different circumstances, and the thing, there was no guarantee it was going to be ever finished. So anyway, let's try to see that it never gets started.
I just don't think they thought that through thoroughly, and they should.
Sort of like they didn't think through the parking program.
Right.
Also, I want to help your spiel because I think y'all are very concerned